Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hi.
Good morning. Mi διευθύντρια.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, now I think you can see me.
Yes, Roberta, we can. So let's wait 5 minutes more because we have many registered participants, but I don't see many right now. So better to wait 5 minutes before to start.
For sure. Good morning. I think in 2 minutes we can start if you agree, Eleonora. Okay. Okay. Mrs. Tramannoni, do you think we can start?
Yeah, Roberta, I think that we should start.
Okay, so good morning first. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Roberta Ruggeri, and I'm an official at the Marche region. I will be moderating today's workshop dedicated to DO-AIR Observatory, guiding you through the agenda and supporting the dialogue between the speakers and participants through the morning. Launched in December 2024 through the collaboration between the Marche region and the Chamber of Commerce of the Marche region, and with the support of the Forum IEC and the scientific contribution of the Marche Polytechnic University, DO-AIR aims to improve a shared and structured data framework for the Adriatic and Ionian macroregion. At macro-regional level, the strategic value of DO-AIR has been recognized in the Crete Declaration in May 2025 in support the implementation of the EUSAIR Strategy. The workshop this morning is structured into 4 consecutive moments, moving from the institutional framing to technical content to interactive exchange and conclusion. If we can find a motto for our meeting today, maybe is that good data does not replace political choices, but it makes them more informed. This is very much the spirit in which today's discussion has been designed. For my role, I kindly invite our panelists to respect the allocated time slot. Thank you very much for your collaboration. And so we can move to session 1, institutional opening and the centrality of data for macro-regional cooperation. And the focus here is to have a stable and comparable and shared information base to support coordinated public policies across the macro-regional strategy. So let me start by introducing Mrs. Eleonora Tramannoni, Secretary General of the Forum IC, whom I now invite to take the floor. Thank you, Eleonora.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Roberta. Can you hear me right?
Perfectly.
Yeah. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here with us today. I'm very glad to open this workshop, especially because of the mix of participants we have, colleagues from user governance institutions, universities, chambers of commerce, and people working on the ground. This is exactly what the community of DO-AIR is meant to serve. Let me start from a very simple consideration. In the Adriatic and Ionian macro-region, we have made a lot of progress in terms of cooperation. We have a strategy, we have networks, we have increasing economic connection across countries. But when it comes to data, we are still working with fragmented information, often not comparable, sometimes difficult to access. This is not only a question of availability, but also of integration. Very often data is available, but it is spread across different sources and actors. This is where DO-AIR comes in. The idea was not to create yet another database, but to organize what already exists. So the observatory is built on existing and reliable sources, which are brought together, aligned and interpreted in a way that makes them actually usable at macro-regional level. And I think this is important to clarify because it also defines what DO-AIR can realistically do. Another key element is continuity. So the observatory is not meant to provide a one-off picture of the region, but to follow how things evolve over time. Being able to track trends year after year, especially on issues like trade, investments, or connectivity, gives a completely different perspective. It helps to understand directions, and this is particularly important if we want to support the policy processes that require continuity, evaluation, and adjustment over time. This is also what makes it relevant for policy and cooperation. So we are glad to say that the importance of this work has already been recognized at political level, because in the quick declaration of 2025, DO-AIR is mentioned to be a best practice supporting the implementation of the EUSAIR strategy. And of course, we are still at the beginning. So far, the focus has been quite clear, mainly on economic integration. At the same time, look at the registrations for today. It is evident that there is an interest in going beyond these towards topics like innovation, green economy, entrepreneurship, and demographic dynamics. We see this as a useful indication, but not as something to immediately absorb without reflection. So this is exactly what we why we wanted this workshop to be interactive. We are interested in understanding what kind of data you actually need and how you would use them and where it makes sense to go next. At the same time, it is important to be transparent. DO-AIR cannot expand indefinitely without a stronger collective effort. Its development depends on collaboration, on data sharing, and on the active contribution of institutional stakeholders. This also means being open to working together to identify and provide missing data where gaps still exist, especially at national level. Because in the end, this is a shared exercise. The more we are able to build a common and reliable macro-regional picture, the more all of us as stakeholders can use in a concrete way for a policy making, but also for designing projects, initiatives, and cooperation activities that are very useful for the macro regions. And it also depends on ensuring continuity, including from an institutional point of view. So in this regard, I would like to thank, of course, the market region for the role that we are playing together, especially for promoting and support this kind of initiative and to believe in it. So let me close by saying that the real value of DO-AIR will not be data itself, but how it is used. So we really look forward for your inputs during the interactive session. And of course, we are available for any other information, even in the next days. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Tramannoni, for recalling also the rationale behind the establishment of DO-AIR and its role in supporting macro-regional cooperation. I now invite Mrs. Donatella Romozzi. Mrs. Romozzi is the EUSAIR technical representative for the Marche region. She will frame the value of DO-AIR from the perspective of EUSAIR governance and implementation. So, Mrs. Romozzi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Roberta. Good morning, everybody. And thank you, Eleonora Tramannoni. Many things have given by Eleonora. But I would like to underline the strong commitment of our region to support EUSAIR and to support DO-AIR also. Regarding the EUSAIR, for the birth of the Adriatic-Ionian macro-regional strategy, Marche region has had strong commitment, but also in the implementation phases also started on 2014. In the last programming period, 2014-2021, as project partner of the strategic project called Facility Point, and in the current programming period 2021-2027, as lead partner of the second strategic project that support the EUSAIR governance called STEP, Stakeholder Engagement Point. But our region has had and has another role of our region inside the country consists in the coordination of the 14 Italian regions involved in EUSAIR, role that our region have played since 2013. To reinforce this commitment, the Regional Law number 15, approved by the Regional Council on 2024, actions to promote the internationalization of market region within the European strategy for the Adriatic-Ionian region. It represents the first regional law in Italy in order to EUSAIR. It intends to reinforce the synergy between all the institutions involved in EUSAIR to work together around common items and concentrate human and financial resources, avoided the waste of the public resource. Supporting the observatory DO-AIR demonstrates this commitment again. Why? Because the knowledge is crucial to make good decisions, make good choices, to choose a real priority action, to monitor the development of this area. And for this reason, Marche Region has supported this project, this observatory, with regional funds. But we would like to include all this data inside the EUSAIR platform we are enhancing, as you know, with the STEP project. At this moment, as Eleanor said before, we have economic and social data. However, the observatory could collect different type of data according to the needs of each pillar and of governance institutions involved in EUSAIR. But about this, other speakers give more details better than me. My speech ends here, and thanks for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Romozzi. I now give the floor to Mr. Gilles Kittel, Team Leader for Southeast Europe and EUSAIR at DG Regio. Mr. Kittel will close this session by offering a European perspective on the use of data within the macro-regional strategy. Thank you, Mr. Kittel. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Roberta. Good morning. I hope you can hear me well. Yes.
Perfectly, yeah.
Perfectly. Can you see as well my slide, my first slide?
Yeah.
Yes, very good. So I will not be long, you see, on introducing myself. I think I know most of the people present today. So as you say, I'm representing the Commission today, DG Regio, and even more particularly, the Territorial Cooperation Unit within DG Regio. As you mentioned, indeed, data are extremely important for our policy making, let's say. And what I'm trying to do this morning, at your request, is to demonstrate how it is also significant in the implementation of the revised action plan of the strategy. So the presentation is divided in two parts. The first is about the revised action plan adopted last year. And the second one is how, based also on the cohesion policy evaluation, so actually you probably know that we have now passed, let's say, the midterm life of our programs 21-27, and we have therefore taken some lessons from the implementation of those programs, what we can say about data collection and how this will also serve you and us for the preparation of the next generation of programs, and indirectly, obviously, how those future programs will be embedded in the strategy, because that's actually ultimately how the data will be used, is to determine how the programs need to be designed to serve and to generate the best added value, let's say, for our citizens. So the first thing is the revised action plan. As you certainly know, all of you, is that it was adopted last year after a very long process, but at the same time, very useful process. And in that context, what I would like to highlight is, before moving to the next slide, is through this revised action plan, we also identify a number of indicators that were never, let's say, identified beforehand, which is very important because that will also, data will be also extremely important to support how we are meeting those indicators. I must say, you see, if I assume you read this revised action plan, data are also important to establish what we call the baselines. And this is also important. And clearly in the region, very often we didn't have enough information to set up those baselines. So that respect as well, I would like to stress on the fact that the project is extremely important and will be certainly useful. Now you see just a slide about the revised action plan. Just to highlight here, that's actually this slide was not made by me, but by the one of the support project of the strategy. But it is absolutely true that we see the strategy for the Adriatic-Ionian region as not only a strategy, but also a platform. And a platform where you see we can trigger, let's say, implementation at different levels. And at all those levels, we need data, not of the same, necessarily of the same nature, but in order to ensure this matching, and you can also see if you read from left to right, we start with the political level, then we have the expert level and the pilot actions, and we end with the joint solution implemented. Depending on the dialogue we have, it can be at the political level, but can be also at expert level. It can be also with the other programs or with, it's important that we have common data. We have first data, that's the first issue. And secondly, those data are common. There is a methodology that will allow us to share those data and to agree on common goals. So again, I would like to insist that really the project has very practical, in a way, implications, which are extremely essential if we want to be, let's say, more effective or impactful with the strategy. So that's really the first, let's say, core message of my intervention today, is that really we welcome very much the project, and the project is really not considered as minor. On the contrary, it's extremely essential, and it will be at the core, let's say, of our future work. The second, that's the second part of my presentation, is contrary to some others, we believe still in science, and we think that science obviously is the only way to support, let's say, a sustainable development of our societies. This is first to say that based on the evaluation that were carried out after, so for, I already mentioned to you the midterm 21-27 programs, but also for the ex post evaluation of the programs 2014-2020, there are three key factors to make our policies effective. Firstly, and that's obviously, let's say, outside your remit, is the economic environment, clearly. But then you have the quality of the institution. Here already we are touching, in a way, to the quality also of the data, the ability of the institution to manage those data, to collect them, to manage them, to also control their quality. And then the administrative capacity. So it's also to highlight that apart from the fact that you are able to collect data, you need to have also institutions able to process those data. That's all, obviously, and you need to train them. So that's also an element that will have to be considered, and that's why it's education and vocational training will be also essential to, in a way, educate people how to, in a way, evidence even more in the future the policy choices they are proposing to the politicians or the political level. Again, I will not be too long because it's just an introduction, but here those are the highlights from those evaluations. So that was actually, there was a work done by experts to really, let's say, aggregate the main lessons from all those evaluations that were carried out. So on all, I'm really insisting, cohesion policies we have in Europe, so not only in the area, but you can see I will not cover all the 6 dimensions, but capacity building, this is certainly essential, and monitoring system. And here, when we are talking about the monitoring system, it's also to highlight the fact that our programs are evolving. They become, in a way, more specific. You know, so that they will be more performance-oriented in the future. And therefore, it's also important that we have data at the level of, at the micro level or the beneficiary level. So a level of granularity that before we didn't need, because in a way, the legal requirements were not as such. So it's also to say that the project is very, let's say, timely proposed, because it's in a way fits very well to the evolution of our policy and the way it will be designed. It is already designed to a certain extent, but it will be even designed more in the future. And that's actually the second slide of let's say the main results of those evaluations is in the future. So now I'm talking about the future regulation as we know it, let's say. So it's still a proposal, but they are already, let's say, more requirements with regard to the data collection than in the current regulation. And there is also an increased focus on performance and micro data. So again, in that respect would be extremely important. And that's more here a call to the project, let's say, owners or the project promoters. It would be important, obviously, to pay attention to those elements, because they will be critical for the future, let's say, programs that will embed our strategy. In terms of capacity building, just a word, again, linking in a way the results of those evaluations with the future. It is also important that in a way collectively we are more efficient in the way we are operating. In that respect as well, we think that the proper use of that data and first, let's say, more efficient collection of data will allow us to be globally more efficient. So again, data are extremely important and relevant in this exercise. Now, because I don't want to be too long, the conclusions of my short presentation today. So first, to say that obviously, let's say, developing policies, and especially in the let's say, post-27 context, it's something complex, clearly. And you will see, if I assume, again, you might have already a first flavor, since we will be much more performance-oriented. Let's say, the things will be in a way less tangible, less cost-driven. It will be important that we have data nonetheless to evidence, let's say, the achievements. In that respect, also, what we should not underestimate is that, and I'm turning my eyes to the user colleagues, so the user stakeholders, is those data sometimes are extremely complex. So it's also important that through this data collection and data processing, we are in a way helping them out to, in a way, mature a reflection on the policy choices they want to make. At the same time, the data need also to capture the complexity sometimes of the situation. In that respect, also the aggregation of data is a stage which is critical. The audit trail is also important, so we need to be able to trace back when we are using data, the raw data, in a way, the data that are at the source of the data that the policy makers are using. And at the end, the purpose of all this is obviously to offer even a broader range of policy options to the policy decision makers. So the politicians, in other words. And that's ultimately, in a way, to take better decisions in the way we are designing our policies, and ultimately how we are, let's say, trying to create this user added value that we want. Just, you see, the second point is to highlight that so far, I'm speaking about the region, the data we have are essentially from, let's say, Commission services. I'm naming here the GRC, so it's a Joint Research Center of the Commission. There are also agencies which are collecting already specific data, but it would be important that through the project you are in a way bridging also data that we are in a way already collecting through those existing institutions. And obviously we avoid to duplicate what is already done, but I assume this is obviously something the project has well in mind. And the last point is really to insist on the fact that, but that's more linked to the post-27, let's say, philosophy, that thanks also to the technology, thanks to the fact that for sure in the next programming period, we will use far more artificial intelligence, for instance, to support our work, that at the same time, we need to have really we call it science for policy ecosystem. So it's also extremely important that the choices we are proposing to our politicians are really evidenced, and data in that respect are extremely critical. So it's just now, you see, to finish, so to say that we welcome very much the project. We obviously wish a lot of success. We also obviously ready to help you. You see all the let's say stakeholders to this project. And then I want to thank you. In case you have questions, I'm sorry, because I'm called in another presentation in a few minutes. It's on the Green Deal in the Western Balkans, so I will have to leave in 10 minutes. I can come back afterwards, but if you have questions, as usual, you do not hesitate to raise now or later, even by email. Feel free. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Kittel, for your interesting presentation, which offered many valuable points for reflection. And thanks to all the other speakers of the first session. We are quite in time, and now we turn to session 2, research methodology, origins of the observatory, and presentation of the DO-AIR report 2025. Which bring us to the core of the observatory. So I first invite Mrs. Anna Cingoli, the project manager at Forum IC, who will introduce the origin of DO-AIR. Then she will be followed by Mr. Daniele Bregoli, Policy and Project Officer at the Marche Polytechnical University, for the main result of the DO-AIR report 2025. I therefore give the floor to Mrs. Anna Cingoli. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I think you can hear me, I suppose. All right.
Yes, yes.
So first of all, thank you, Roberta, for the introduction, and a special thanks for all the speakers who have preceded us for framing the importance of our work. As mentioned, I'm Anna Cingoli, the project manager of Forum IC, and today I'm pleased to introduce you the core of the DO-AIR project, starting first of all with the raison d'être. So the invaluable importance of proximity and the cooperation in our area. Let's move, okay. The Adriatic-Ionian region, first of all, faces significant challenges. One of the main one is an historical lack of homogeneous and comparable economic data across our countries. The fragmentation has made it very difficult to measure the true economic weight of the area, despite the formal recognition by the European Union through the EUSAIR Strategy. The most effective solution to this problem is to adopting an integrated and systematic approach to data analysis. This allows us to harmonize the metrics and consequently support more targeted public policies for sustainable development. In fact, the objective is to provide a clear data-driven picture of the economic importance of the Adriatic-Ionian region, to promote research and innovation, in particular for regional development, create also a leading tool for analyzing and monitoring the key economic indicators. The value of this research, I would say, for us that are working on it is quite profound. In fact, analyzing the degree of this economic integration for us is essential to understand the regional dynamics and to help policymakers, businesses, and institutions to make decisions based on reliable information. The flows of goods, capital, and people between our countries are not just numbers. They reflect the real economic independence and directly influence the growth, the employment, and the industrial development of the nations involved. To answer this need, the DO-AIR project was officially launched, as mentioned before, on December 2024. And it is an initiative developed in close cooperation and collaboration with the Marche region, the Chamber of Commerce of Marche region, the Forum and the University of the UniVPM Polytechnic University of Marche. Our aim is to bridge the information gap, become a permanent reference tool for the EUSAIR strategy and the local decision makers to provide a clear data-driven vision of the macro region's socioeconomic importance. But if we have to summarize the why, in 3 key points, we should say that we assess and monitor the progress and the trends in the economic integration of EUSAIR countries and regions. We overcome the severe lack of homogeneous and comparable data, and we provide an approach that is, let's say, comprehensive and systematic for data collection and analysis. Our operational goal is to move along 3 main guidelines. Let's say we monitor the evolution of economic integration in the macro region. We analyze through the data the socioeconomic trends in the Adriatic and Ionian region, and we inform and support all interested stakeholders, creating a solid decision-making foundation. Also highlighted in the recent Crete declaration, we hope to be cited again in the Skopje declaration as well. I will not go through specifically the research area because my colleague Daniele Bregoli will go through it more in detail. But to achieve this, our research focuses in 3 specific key areas: the trade exchange, the foreign direct investments, and the maritime and airport traffic. However, although the observatory focuses purely on economic indicators, it is possible to draw a complete picture. It is impossible to draw a complete picture without starting from the demographic and social analysis. If we look at the data, the total population of our macro region currently stands on 68.9 million. A figure worth reflecting is also that 3.95% decrease in population was from 2014 to today. This decline is driven by crucial challenges for our area, in particular the brain drain and significant democratic pressure, primarily affecting all of us in the area. If we go through directly the GDP trends, from a wealth creation perspective, the GDP trends reveal that the region has made a significant strides in the economic development, while maintaining marked difference in scale, pace, and resilience among the various countries. But it is interesting to note how the period following the establishment of the EUSAIR coincides with a broader pattern of economic stabilization and a gradual upward shift for the entire area. But we have thus outlined the context and the genesis of the observation and the demographic foundations from which we start. And I will go directly passing the floor to my colleague that will explore more on the dynamics, the maritime traffic, and the investment flows. So I will pass the floor directly to my colleague Daniele Bregoli from the Polytechnic Marche University. Thank you. Daniele, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Anna, and thank you also to Roberta. Of course, also thank you very much for the precious collaboration that we are having. I'm gonna share the screen starting from the last slide that Anna was showing. I guess you can see it and you can hear me well. So indeed, my tough work here is to present the data, what we have come up with in terms of highlights, snapshots.
We have some technical problems.
Sorry, I guess
Okay.
I had some problems with the connection. Can you still hear me and see my screen, right? Yeah. Okay, amazing. I was saying that indeed I will try this brief session to show what we have come up with in terms of data and highlights. Again, here we'll show you some snapshots that we have drafted in the report of 2025, in the DO-AIR report. Of course, I will not spend a lot of time on data and on all these insights because I don't want to be too boring. But then you can, of course, enjoy the reading of the report, which is accessible through the forum of the Adriatic-Ionian Chambers of Commerce website. Actually, as Anna was saying, there are 3 different research areas that we have focused on. I will start with the second one. It's not a mistake. I just wanted to put forward the maritime and airport traffic first, because I've seen also that from the applications on the form of the participation form, some of you or a lot of you also expressed the preference and also the interest in the maritime and airport traffic. This is something that is highly appreciated also because we are taking into account that we are talking about a microregion that is based and located on a key geographical area, 2 seas, important seas, the Adriatic and Ionian, dividing the region or connecting the region. The analysis on the maritime and airport traffic was taken through specific surveys that were distributed to the authorities of the ports throughout those region, and we could collect over 20 years of data, which gave us the possibility to draw a good reading of maritime traffic with linear trends over time. In particular, we focused on 2 particular transports in terms of goods and passengers. Starting with goods, here there is a good snapshot of what are the key ports that are really relevant for the region. Taking into account the 2023, which is the latest year we have analyzed in the 2025 report of the DO-AIR Observatory, the ports of Koper, Trieste, and Rijeka have emerged as a leading hub of the region in terms of, again, transport of cargo, liquid bulks and dry bulks and general goods. But we have seen also solid volumes in Italian ports such as Ravenna, Venice, and of course Ancona as well. Here we have a more detailed overview of the linear trend. As we can see, from 2014 up to the pandemic, there was a good trend of growth in terms of flow of goods, a trend that, of course, was kind of decreasing in 2020 and started again to go up after the pandemic. Of course, in 2023, it hasn't reached the maximum levels of 2018, which were around 222 million tons of goods, but hopefully within the next report that will be hopefully presented in the EUSAIR forum in Skopje, we will be able to see a massive growth compared to the latest year that we have taken into account. And going through the flow of passengers, here we see also another good and interesting picture. Passengers across the region and the ports has shown strong post-pandemic recovery. With Split, for instance, that maintains the kind of regional leadership, Dubrovnik and Zadar that have seen a rapid growth, and ports, Italian ports again, like Trieste and Ravenna, that are emerging as new cruise hubs in response to Venice declines. This is, I think that this is also something quite really positive because it follows up the good wave of tourism, and which is something that is highly promoted by the EUSAIR strategy through the pillar of sustainable tourism, and on the other side is also highly promoted by the new political wave of the Mediterranean diet, which a lot of us are highly involved in. And I think this is also something really, really important and to invest on or to look at in terms of future avenues of discussions. Wrapping up with the trade in terms of flow of goods and passengers, here we can see the trade exchange research area and topic. What is actually really important about the trade exchange is looking at how integrated is the region itself. So if we're talking about regional integration and economic integration, or even we're talking about cohesion policy, I think that trade exchange is a core pillar to take into account. And of course, this is highly related to what Anna was showing before in terms of growth of GDP and growth of population, because trade is one of key proxies that is used to evaluate the economic growth as well. Here again, good picture of what has been happening in the macro region from 2014 up to 2023. This picture is very well summarized by the small graph that you can see at the bottom right of the slide, which actually summarizes the growth of the total exports of the EUSAIR economies. As we can see, there has been from 2014 a massive and really interesting growth of exports, total exports. We are talking about 70% more exports from 2014 and 2023. Of course, this is not a direct correlation of the coexistence of EUSAIR, but on the other side is a great basis for the growth of the Western Balkans and the macro region itself. The central picture here shows more the trades of different sectors. I will not go deep in details of each sector, but I'm gonna analyze just one, the manufacturing one, which is something that for a lot of countries that are involved in the macro region is really, really important. And what is even more important is the growth of this sector. We're talking about more than 170% over 2002 and more, and basically the sector doubled his volumes from 2012. Here we change a little bit the lens of the analysis. We are looking at the share of intra-EUSAIR imports and exports relative to the total global trade of each country. Here, if we look at the two graphs, the import and exports, it is quite easy to see two kind of different clusters. Basically, what we are saying here and what we are seeing here is that smaller Balkan economies and countries are deeply regionally integrated, which means they basically trade more within them other than outside. And on the other side, the largest economies, such as, for instance, Italy and Greece, they are a little bit less regionally integrated in terms of trade. Of course, they have differentiated a bit more their trade income and outcome. This is something that is quite also relevant. We are basically saying that they rely a lot on the linkages and also the relationships among them. Last stream of analysis is the foreign direct investments. Foreign direct investments happens when a country's entity acquires a stable and lasting interest in a foreign company. This is something really, really interesting, or at least for us, because it basically expresses the linkages, that the economic linkages a little bit more deeper, that are reflected within the region and also within different countries. In particular, we speak of FDI when the investor owns at least 10% of the shares of the voting power of a foreign company. And in the analysis itself, we have collected positions, which are a little bit more stable than flows. Here you can immediately see one thing that is quite really relevant in terms of if we take the stocks of FDI in and out for the latest available year that we have analyzed, 2023, Italy is quite overcoming the others. Of course, this is because of Italy having a largest economy than the others. But let's look at the table on the right, which is, I think, a little bit more interesting. Here we analyze the percentage of in and out FDIs compared to the GDP. And here we see something really interesting. If we look at the inward column, for countries such as Albania, Croatia, and North Macedonia, the inward FDIs account for more than 60% of the GDP, which means that actually those countries are really, really dependent on incoming investments. And of course, this is also something really crucial for the development itself of those countries, because basically we are saying that economic relationships with others are something that are really worth noting. Last slide from my side is if we are looking at the incoming FDI stocks and this kind of metrics that compares the importers and exporters of FDIs, if we can call them so. Here, the last three rows are really interesting. One is saying underlying the total EUSAIR billions of incoming FDI stocks, and we see that Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, and Slovenia are the countries with the largest amount of incoming FDI stocks. Of course, in terms of world and total, again, Italy and Greece are the dominating countries. But even more interesting is the last row. Here we compare the totals of EUSAIR and the totals of global FDI stocks. And we are seeing that there are some interesting countries like Bosnia, like Montenegro, or even North Macedonia and Croatia that, as already we said before, are highly dependent on incoming FDI stocks from the EUSAIR with really high percentages. This is it from my side. I tried to be as quick as possible. Sorry for maybe I was a little bit more boring. I tried to give you all the snapshots of the report again. But again, if you are really interested in the report or go deeper in the data, feel free to either reach out to us or to visit the website of the forum with the accessible report as well. I will give back to Roberta.
Thank you very much, Daniele. And we now move to the interactive session. This session is designed to collect your input through live polling and guided discussion in order to identify needs, thematic priorities, and possible future development areas for DO-AIR. And the results will be discussed to guide the observatory's next step. And here again, I hand over to Daniele Bregoli, who will guide us through the operational details of this session. So, Daniele, the floor is back to you.
Thank you very much, Roberta. I shared again my screen, and I really hope that the connection will not break down again. So, as Roberta was saying, indeed, the goal of this session and the overall goal of the workshop itself is to, first of all, present the observatory, and second, also to try to guide us or try collaborate all together in seeing what will be the future of the observatory, what will be the key elements, key points that we should and we have to focus on, and of course, what is something relevant for the stakeholders, in this case, the participants of these workshops, for the future discussions. Therefore, I've seen that you already logged in and you're starting ready to reply. This is really good. We have indeed prepared these questions, kind of 6-7 questions with throughout some polls, and we would like to indeed pass the floor to you. Here you can see QR code you can access easily via your mobile phone, or if you do not have this possibility, there is here a link, menti.com, with a code. You simply go on the website menti.com and you insert this code, and you will be immediately transferred to the first poll. Second, what we would like to do is first go through all the polls, and then after that we will foresee a session of discussion. So I will simply in this session simply read the questions and the answers, and then after that, please write down any kind of comments, questions, or whatever that you want to raise, and we will foresee a full discussion after the polls. So I'm seeing that a lot of you have already logged in. This is really good. And again, the first icebreaker question is, had you heard of DO-AIR before today? Yes, I am well aware of these activities and reports. I have heard about it, but I don't have the details. No, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. I will give you another 1 minute since a lot of you have already replied, and then we can go ahead with the other question. And of course, if any of you is having any trouble, technical trouble, just flag it. As you may also have seen, there is a possibility from your smartphone or the laptop to leave comments. I see it here. If you want to leave comments on demand, please feel free. So the first results of the question is quite even, I would say. A lot of people, in this case 9, are aware of the activities of the DO-AIR. We are glad. But the others have heard of it. We are glad again that the disseminations have worked really well, and there are some people that are hearing it for the first time. I think that as a picture is quite interesting, also because we are here to promote first the DO-AIR Observatory, and we are here to start and kicking off the collaboration and the futures activities of the observatory. I will go immediately to the next slide. You should have now another question on your laptop or smartphone. The question is, which areas require, in your opinion, greater data accessibility? Here we have put some answers, possible answers: trade exchange, foreign green economy. So here again, you can select your replies. I'm seeing that a lot of coming in. Meanwhile, also to give you some background of the work that has been done in the first report. Of course, as you have seen, as Anna and myself presented before, trade exchange for direct investments and transports and demographic overviews are well covered by the first DO-AIR report. On the other side, there are some spots that maybe could be further analyzed in terms of demographic, economic and social factors. I'm looking at the comments. I will write it down, and then in the discussion section we can discuss it further. But I was saying that, for instance, in the demographic section of the report, we haven't focused on a labor market or the so-called brain drain or migration dynamics. This is maybe something that could be quite relevant for the future developments. And again, we decided to put in the poll also the replies on environment, sustainability and green economy, because first, it's something really relevant, as we know, in terms of policy development and also in terms of EU priorities. But it's also something that could be really important in terms of integration itself. And again, we see that there is a much higher interest in terms of accessibility of data for green sectors. This is something that we can surely take it into account. Next question. In which sectors do you think the observatory should expand its research activities? So before we were looking at the overall interest in terms of topics, and here we are looking at action points. What could be the specific sectors that, in this case, as you can see from the replies, are related to some pillars and priorities of the EUSAIR, sectors that we can, as Observatory Secretariat, further expand. Of course, here in the replies, we try to go a little bit more deeper in the details. We didn't include sustainability or greening overall, but still, this is something really, really relevant that we should keep into account. I say again, quite good distribution in terms of priorities. Sustainable tourism is something that is leading. I think that this is also quite important for the strategy as well. As also the colleagues from the region can confirm it, and the colleagues from the forum can confirm it as well, because they are really involved in all the topics that are around the Mediterranean diet, which is something really relevant in terms of growth of tourism and sustainable tourism within the area Innovation, research, and digitalization. I'm really fan of this one because basically my research is focusing on it as well. And what is also interesting here is that, as you may know, the Western Balkans are involved in the Horizon framework and the Horizon programs, which is, of course, the core activities are the output of innovation. And here again is something that can be further explored. Now, the other question in terms of rating, how important do you consider collaboration between entities and institutions to improve data collection and sharing? 1 star is not important at all, and 5 stars is very important. I guess not big surprises here. I think that actually the collaboration is relevant throughout the whole pipeline of collection of data, also because without collaboration, there are no accessible data in general. Someone can collect the data, but if there is no one that is disseminating the data, thank you to the DO-AIR Observatory, those data are not accessible and cannot be exploited by key stakeholders as well. And also in terms of here, what is also really relevant, at least from my perspective, is the integration of data. So basically, using one specific data, for instance, of trade, could be really benefited to look at them through the lens of transports as well. So in terms of policy making and in terms of strategic decisions, the integration of data as well is really relevant. We still have a couple of questions, and I will try to speed it up, looking also at the time. How can we improve data collection and sharing among entities and institutions? As far as I remember, this question is an open question. You should insert 1 or 2 keywords, and it will appear a good map of words that are relevant. I really like the shared platform, also because indeed what is quite relevant for people that need the data is also to find all those data in a single place. In terms of usability, is something that is quite interesting also to have. Clear guidance. Homogeneity of data, yes, this is something also quite complicated, also because the process of cleaning and cleaning the data is something really difficult and time consuming as well. I see there is also AI, artificial intelligence. This is, of course, an incredible tool for collecting and processing, especially processing the data. Of course, with all the caveats, but it is something really interesting to use. Cooperation again. We'll wait another 10, 20 seconds. I think that this is a really good picture that also reflects the relevance of collecting and making those data available for everyone. Connection with pillars, this is really nice as well. You're basically saying that the relevance of the data should also reflect the relevance of the macro region, which is something that shouldn't be granted. Okay, I will go to the next one. Again, here we are talking something more practical, and we are asking for what purpose would you mostly use the data from the DO-AIR Observatory? Meaning, what could be useful for you? Support for political and strategic decisions, European project planning and participation in tenders, academic research and economic analysis, development of business strategies, general information, monitoring of macro-regional trend. I'm happy seeing also a lot of people some people that are voting development of business strategies. This is something, if talking about trade, talking about innovation, flow of FDIs, this is something also really crucial. Also taking up the data for strategic decision. Okay, I will now go to the last one, and then we can open up the discussion section. What policy action would you have an immediate impact on the macro region? Yeah, we are talking really more in general, apart from data, apart from collecting insights and relevance, best practices, and so on. What do you think that could be relevant in terms of policy uptakes for the macro region? I guess this is also really complicated to reply in one or two keywords, but it is also something that can stimulate the discussions and also the political discussions as well. Let's go really fast. Yes. I see that, yeah, skill development is something also that has been underlined from also the presentation of Shilkitel on the reporting of cohesion. We saw a lot on capacity building, meaning not only capacity building of public authorities, but also capacity building of people or clusters, which is something quite interesting. Also, if we look at the data again, and if we look at the demographic shifts of the Western Balkans and the brain drain. Connectivity, something crucial, also because it's something also that is highly relevant for the strategy. Talking about connectivity, we then could talk about trade, we talk about integration, and we talk also about transport of people. shared migration policy. This is also quite relevant if we talk also about a single market and the free of movement of everyone. Financial dialogue. We know that there are huge EU policies on the development of Western Balkans, which are really taking a lot of efforts from not only the European countries, but also from the Western Balkan sides. So I think that since we are quite running out of time, I see that there are even more inputs. I can maybe go to the next phase in terms of discussion. I will maybe not hand the presentation. I could either keep it open, Roberta, you tell me, or we can simply pass the floor to the people. So for the time being, I will stop sharing so that we can see each other here. And the goal here now is, as I was saying before, is to try to open up a kind of discussion. We do not have much time, but I see that some of you already commented on the polls, and someone was talking about more integrated data, integration itself, and so on. So the goal here is please, first of all, if you have any kind of comments about the observatory, the presentation, what we presented, please go ahead, comments, critics, suggestions, whatever, but also in terms of questions. And last but not least, we have done this exercise to try to brainstorm. If you have specific suggestions for the observatory, if you have a specific best practices and promising practices to share, please go ahead. We are really happy to hear your voices. Therefore, I will mute myself. Please, if you have a question or inputs, raise your hand, and I will try, and we will try to give you the floor.
Thank you, Daniele. We can wait for a couple of minutes, but please also, if you don't have now a question because you need more time to reflect, please feel free to send us an email or any other suggestion maybe you have in next days. So if you agree, maybe we can now jump to the concluding part of our meeting. But this okay, maybe there is on the chat. Okay, yeah, just a suggestion. I don't know from whom, but they suggest that the result of the observatory would be useful for the drafting of the next Interreg programs. So it would be useful if the result could be shared with the managing authorities of the Interreg programs that insist on the areas. This is a very interesting suggestion that could be a good suggestion for any other programs that is interested in the area. Daniele, you and
No, sorry, I just wanted to add on this. Sorry.
Okay.
Because I think it's quite really interesting in terms of drafting new Interreg programs, because indeed, of course, as all of us know, that the Interreg programs, especially the IPA Adrian, are focused also on the priorities of the EUSAIR. This is really, really nice. But just to underline also what us as Politecnica delle Marche or Marche Polytechnic University we are also doing is we are also analyzing the Interregional Innovation Investments Program and how this can be shifted in the Western Balkans and in the EUSAIR as a whole, which is something that maybe can be really interesting in terms of value chains, analyzing the value chains, how those can be more integrated within the region and within the different countries. But I completely support this suggestion.
Yeah, thank you. Any other comments?
Roberta, if I just can jump in, we can discuss also about that on during the user forum in Skopje with the EPA Adrian Joint Secretariat Managing Authority. So we will be there, and Daniele Bregoli also will be there with us. So I don't know that maybe there will be a sort of slot or something, what the Adrian is organizing. So maybe we can, present some updates of the report, because at the moment you can find the report of 2025 with the data that start from the early 2000 till 2023, if I'm correct, online on our website, and then we will put the direct link in the chat. And the next report, with some updates, will be published, we think, during summertime, but we have already something, so we can present what we have during user forum. So I don't know if the EPA Adrian has already some slots there. Maybe we can find a way to present what we have, just taking, I don't know, 10 minutes of your time.
Thank you for your suggestion. So maybe it's time for our concluding part of the meeting. But this moment is not merely one of synthesis, but above all one of opening. And we gathered ideas, observation, needs, perspectives that represent a valuable asset. And the time maybe has now come to turn this asset into a shared vision, maybe. But before moving to the conclusion, I would like to thank all of you for the quality of discussion, for your attention, for the interesting interacting session, for the practical and concrete nature of the contribution brought forward. It is precisely from this collective richness that the opportunity arises to envisage the next steps with greater clarity, and to provide us with a critical and forward-looking perspective. So I therefore invite Professor Donato Iacobucci, the director of the Center for Research and Services on Innovation and Entrepreneurship at the Marche Polytechnic University. And Mr. Iacobucci will guide us through the conclusion and outline the possible trajectories for the path ahead. Professor Iacobucci, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Roberta. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly.
Yeah, so thank you very much for the introduction. I'll just take a few minutes for some final remarks. First of all, let me thank the organizers, Donatella Romozzi and Roberta Ruggeri from Marche region, but also Eleonora Tramannoni from the Forum of the Chambers of Commerce. And of course, a big thank also to the speakers, and we heard Gilles Kittel for his contribution about the perspectives of the EUSAIR, and Anna Cingoli and Daniele Bregoli for presenting DO-AIR. But of course, really thank to all of you who attended today, quite a large number. The feedback that we received from the polls was extremely interesting, and as already Roberta said, very valuable for the observatory. This will help us in planning the next steps, certainly, and the future activity of the observatory. As Eleonora and also Anna explained, the main goal of the DO-AIR is in fact to provide information and insights that are useful to EUSAIR stakeholders. So this is why your suggestions and what we heard about your interest and the information you need are very important to us. As Eleonora explained at the beginning of this workshop, DO-AIR started with the idea. We started with the idea of focusing on measuring the economic integration within the macro region. That's why the initial focus was on, as you heard from Daniele, on maritime and air traffic connectivity, trade flows, foreign direct investment, cross-border firm cooperation. So really the main areas that allowed us to understand the evolution and dynamic of economic integration. From today's workshop, it is very clear there's a strong interest to going further, and especially in deepening the analysis, extending and deepening the analysis in additional areas. Certainly sustainability and the green economy, which was the first, if I remember correctly. The demographic dynamics, and especially the dynamics in the labor market. And when we think at the EUSAIR pillars, sustainable tourism and research innovation, we were already discussing on these issues, as Daniele mentioned. But of course, I would like to stress one important point, which was already mentioned. We are not producing data. The observatory is collecting existing data and organize them in a way that we hope allow to extract useful information, knowledge, or insights which are useful for EUSAIR stakeholders. So in this way, to this aim, the main challenge is the comparability of data that are available. So so that's why we rely mainly on publicly available data from statistical institutions, but we are also relying on collecting data from some institutions, for example, port authorities for the maritime traffic. So I was very glad to see that all participants today stress the importance of data sharing between stakeholders. So this, in addition to publicly available data, this possibility of sharing data among stakeholders will add a really interesting value to the observatory. So we will certainly carefully reflect on how to create the conditions for homogenizing and sharing data. So because I think this will really add value to the observatory. Here again, the keyword is integration. Data in some way are increasingly available. Sometimes they are even too much, overwhelming data. The challenge is not accessing data, but organize and integrate them in a way that it's really useful. So we think that the value we had lies exactly in this, organizing and integrating data from an EUSAIR perspective, so from the perspective of macro-regional to support cooperation within the macro-region. And I was glad to hear from Jill Kittel that stressed this point that EUSAIR basically is a platform for cooperation, and we want to contribute on this. We think at economic cooperation first of all, but we are happy to see stronger collaboration in research and innovation, of course, as well as in tourism and cultural exchanges. Finally, and I'm concluding, as Eleonora said at the beginning, DO-AIR is not we don't aim for a one-off report. It is meant to be a permanent observatory. And this brings to me to another keyword, which is sustainability. And in this case, economic sustainability. This means that we have to carefully consider how to go ahead, of course, considering your suggestions, but also being realistic on what we can gradually include and develop over time. What is certain is that we will see the 2026 report and possibly already enriched with some new data from compared with the 2025 report. And I think it's really useful, besides the presentations that we will have of the DO-AIR. I think it's very useful to organize other workshops and seminars like this to continue exchanging and engaging with stakeholders and collect very valuable feedback. So once again, thank you all, and I hope to meet you again in future events related to DO-AIR or the macro region in general.
Thank you. So thank you for participate, and as Donato Iacobucci said, see you next time. This is not a conclusion, but just the starting of a path, and so see you next. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Roberta.
ciao.
Just to say that we will share, the results of today's event, and again the link of the report to all the registered participants, and of course you can be always in contact with us for any insights with the Marche region and the University Polytechnic of Marche. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you all.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.